Warning. The following are thoughts and opinions that belong to 4chan and Reddit. They do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Am I getting haunted? So over the weeks I have been getting kind of scared for my safety. Stuff has been falling, getting moved, and a whole bunch of other weird things. It started when my grandpa died about 2 years ago. For example, I have been getting touched on my foot when nobody's in the room. Stuff falling off my desk at night, footsteps in my room when my door is closed. And my dream catcher moving and crows following me. I just simply want help to identify what is going on here. Thank you. Something happening, or am I just crazy? Hey everyone. Something weird's been going on at my house lately, and I can't really explain it. Has anyone ever experienced something like this? A few quick facts: I live alone in a 2-story house. There's a small yard and a Rottweiler who sleeps outside. Only one neighbor, and they're right next to my yard. The house is fairly new, nothing creepy or old looking about it. The first knock a few nights ago, around 12 a.m., it was raining and I was just chilling in bed watching reels, nothing spooky. Suddenly, I hear 3 loud, clear knocks. Not taps, not creaks, knocks. It sounded like someone was at my door. I paused my phone and listened. My first thought was, is someone actually here? But my Rottweiler, who's normally super alert, was silent, and when I checked on him later, he was fast asleep in his dog house. I waited a few minutes in silence for another knock. Nothing. Eventually, I got up, checked the house, yard, everything completely clear. No signs of anyone. 2. The second night, the next night, I was in bed again. All quiet. Around 3 a.m., I jolted awake to what sounded like a single knock. No follow-up, no movement, just that one sound. Now, I'm not sure if I actually heard it, or dreamed it. But it felt real enough to sit up and listen. 3. Today, the lights were on. Fast forward to today. I came home from work like usual, opened the door, and noticed something immediately off. The LED strip lights in my living room were on. Not just there, the ones in my bedroom too. Now here's the thing, I'm 100% sure I turned them off before leaving. They're not on any timer, and they can only be turned on with a remote. Which no one has, except me. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I was tired, maybe I forgot. But the more I thought about it, the stranger it felt. Like the kind of thing you try to explain away, but deep down you know something's not adding up. Mysterious phone call. So I posted on here that I think my office is haunted. This is just one of the things that makes me think so. About 9:30 one evening, somebody called my cell phone from the switchboard. I scrambled to answer it because when somebody's calling that late, they're probably trying to get something filed with the court before midnight and having a problem. By the time I got to the phone, they had hung up. I tried calling back, but of course I got the switchboard/answering service. Then I thought, wait a minute. If somebody were having trouble filing something, they wouldn't have called me from the switchboard. They'd have called me from their cell phone because they'd be in their office trying to get their damned computer to work. So I called the 2 attorneys who were most likely to be having a problem. They were both fine. The next day I asked the receptionist if she could check the switchboard and see who had called me at 9:30 the previous night. She could confirm that there had been a call to me, but it hadn't come from anybody's extension. Someone had dialed out directly from the switchboard. So I asked her to check the cameras. Nobody was in the office. The cleaning crew left around 7, the security guard checked the floor 15 minutes later, and that was it. Weird. Local haunting? So, I had a paranormal experience today at the Belmar laundromat on 34th. Every time I bought a snack or soda, I heard someone who sounded like a child say, "Hey." There was no one who was close enough and the TV was turned off. I bought 2 Diet Cokes and 2 snacks just to make sure it was each time, and it was. Has anyone else had that happen? I was going to go to the store across the street, but I was too lazy and without a car. So creepy, y'all. I don't know what this means. A couple years back I was just laying in my bed. I saw 3 white orbs just hovering mid-air a few feet above my feet with beams coming out of them. It couldn't have been lights from outside because they were just floating in the air. I could very clearly see them. I need answers. What could they have been? Has anyone else had the same experience as me? Documented events. I appeared on the Travel Channel a few years ago due to documented events that occurred in my home. These events were documented by local police and fire. I'm going to tell of one of those. I was a young mother, and pregnant with my last child when my ex-husband and I found a cute little rental house. It had light blue siding, a large wraparound porch, white shuttered windows, a large backyard, and a separate 2-car garage. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom. It was on a dead-end road with 4 other houses with lots between each and a large cotton field at the end of the cul-de-sac. Across the street was a Baptist church. When we had viewed the home, I noticed that all the cabinets were opened when we arrived, but thought nothing of it at the time. My favorite part of the house was the room I made the nursery. It has the most light. It had 2 windows and a large closet. It was an old enough home that it didn't have central air. We had window units, of which one was in each bedroom. The thing about the nursery was that it seemed bright looking into it, but when you walked into it, it felt dark. I don't know how else to describe it. When we viewed it, I didn't think much of it. I guess I assumed a cloud went over the sun when I walked in. Many events occurred in our home. Too many to talk about in one post. We lived there for 3 years. This post, I will focus on the one major event, and a couple others that triggered the decision to finally move. One of which nearly killed my entire family. The nursery had been the focus of most of the activity. However, we experienced activity in all parts of the house. The nursery eventually was shut and locked. It became the graveyard for all the toys that the batteries had been removed, but the toys would still go off on their own. One night my ex-husband and I were in our bedroom getting ready for bed. Our children were asleep in the room they shared on the other side of the house. Our room was next to the nursery with the living room, kitchen, and bathroom between us. My mother was in the living room playing on the computer. My husband reached up to turn off the bedroom light at the fan rather than the light switch in order to leave the fan going. He was on his knees on the bed. He reached up and we heard a loud growl and snarl from the foot of the bed. It sounded like it was snapping at his foot hanging off the bed. He jerked his foot up and we both looked, but nothing was there. Our dog was asleep at my mother's feet in the living room. I suddenly felt like someone was holding a lighter to the back of my leg. I couldn't get my bottoms off fast enough. On the back of my leg were 3 long angry red marks that began to blister in front of our eyes. I went to the doctor later thinking maybe shingles. Nope. He said it was a burn, but we couldn't figure out what caused it. He prescribed silver sulfidine. My mother ended up moving out because of the activity. My ex-husband was a musician. One night he was gone on the road. I woke up to my mother crawling in bed with me, terrified. I had never seen my mother scared like that or ever again. She was whispering urgently, trying to wake me. I woke confused. "What's wrong, Mom?" "The children are crying in the nursery," she whispered shakily. I got up groggy and confused. The nursery has been closed off. The kids wouldn't have been sleeping in there. "What?" I said as I made my way to go out of the bedroom. My mother grabbed my arm, pulling me down to her. "No," she said. "Our babies are in their beds." I checked. I stood there staring at her, perplexed. Then I heard it too. I could hear children crying. I slowly made my way down the hall to the closed nursery as the sound got louder. The dog was going nuts in the backyard. I reached up and turned the doorknob and took a deep breath. I quickly swung the door open and the sound stopped. The room was ice cold. I stood there staring around the room, confused, when it started again. This time it sounded like it was coming from outside of the bedroom windows. I rushed outside thinking maybe I was being pranked. When I got out there, I could still hear it, but it was coming from the nursery inside of the house. I shut the nursery back off and my mother and I sat up in the living room with the dog until the sun rose. This is when the sound finally stopped. I felt like I had to stand guard over my children. I spent many nights like this. How do you protect your children from something like this? At one point I took a second shift job mixing fours at the hospital in order to be awake while my family slept. I would get home around the time activity was known to occur during the night. I would get home from work and sit up in the living room standing guard over my sleeping family. Another reason was I was sleepwalking often. One of those episodes was one night when I woke up to a police officer pulling me over. Yes, you read that right. No drugs involved. I woke up to an officer pulling me over. I was confused. I didn't know how I had gotten there. My last memory was of going to bed. When he came to my window, he could see I was alarmed. I lied and told him I was going to the store to get medicine for my babies, even if hit me. My kids were in the house alone. SHT. The officer followed me home to make sure I was okay. He had dealt with coming to my house before. The police knew it had weird things going on. Officers had come to my home and experienced things. They were called when we had first moved in and thought there was an intruder. I woke up another night with my ex-husband yelling at me. We were in the middle of the kitchen. I was mad that he woke me. We argued for a minute because he said I had woke up the kids staring out their bedroom window, telling them to get up and get out of the house. I argued that I hadn't done any such thing. I kept demanding to know why he woke me up when I saw my children standing there looking terrified. Then I realized that when he woke me I wasn't in bed. I was standing up in the kitchen. I digress, so I was scared to sleep at night, afraid it would happen again. I avoided sleeping at night as often as I could. I tried to sleep during the day, but there were nights I had to sleep at night. I woke one night to my ex-husband standing at the foot of the bed with his back to me. I could see him because of the screensaver from the computer screen in front of him. The alarm clock sat next to the computer. 3 a.m. I sat up in the bed. I called out to him, but he didn't turn around. I felt like I was falling down really fast. My stomach was flipping and the room was ice cold. I looked to his side of the bed. It was empty. I looked back and he was gone. Then the covers started to be pulled down off of me. I grabbed them, trying to hold onto them. Then the banging started on the walls and I froze. Then the blinds started flipping open and shut at time with it. Then the window AC started beeping from low, medium to high in time with it. Then that god-awful smell. I couldn't move. I was frozen in terror. The covers were violently jerked out of my hands off the bed. I finally took in air and started screaming. I was a grown woman and I was screaming for my mother. I got the courage to reach for the doorknob, and as I turned it, my ex-husband was opening it. He had been violently ill in the bathroom. He could hear the banging and window unit, but it stopped when he opened the door. The next morning, I woke to the worst headache. I woke my ex-husband asking him to get my migraine medicine for me from the bathroom. He got up and took 2 steps and collapsed. I got up and came around the bed and he was lying in the floor. He looked up at me and said, Get the kids out? Something is wrong. My body felt so heavy. I moved very slowly towards the kids' room. I found my 5-year-old son in the kitchen face down. I passed out. I woke to my ex-husband telling me to get up and get our son out. He was going for our daughter. I got my son awake and got him outside in the front yard. He laid down. I went back in. My ex-husband had passed out outside of the kids' room. I could barely move. It took too much energy to try and lean down. So I nudged him with my foot until he finally looked up. I told him to crawl outside with our son. I was getting out daughter. This part is hard for me. I found her tiny little body cold and blue. She only weighed about 30 pounds. She was 3. I dragged her out of the house. She felt like she weighed a ton. I laid my little girl on the front porch. It's hard to describe what it feels like when your brain is lacking oxygen. It's very difficult to think. Your body is prioritizing survival, so thinking, let alone hallucinating, isn't possible. The brain isn't trying to make sense of information at all. It is computing very little. It's prioritizing trying to keep your body going. Through that haze I knew my daughter was dead, however. So, I went back in the house to get my cell phone to call for help and lay down inside to die with my child. I couldn't stay conscious long enough to complete the call, so I went back to the front door to make the call. When I got there, my little girl's eyes are open and she was breathing. She had a vacant stare, but she was alive. So, I came outside and made the call, then passed out next to my daughter. I woke to emergency responders there. A fireman came out of my home wearing a mask with a tank on his back. He showed another firefighter a device. Jesus Christ. The firefighter said. Lethal levels of carbon monoxide is 30 per square foot. It was over 500 in my home. We were rushed to the hospital. The levels immediately dropped after we left the property, even before they started trying to air it out. My middle child said he had been woken by a child who told him to get up and go to the kitchen to turn off the burner. It was on but not lit. He hadn't turned it on and neither had anyone else. I hadn't cooked that weekend. He evidently had passed out in the kitchen after turning it off. My daughter said she remembers playing with a black cat and then described the same child along with the cat watching me drag her body out, and then they took her to her body and showed her how to get back into it. The investigator knew this after interviewing my kids. He said it still didn't explain those levels. He found nothing malfunctioning. So we were not hallucinating for 3 years as people like to speculate. He couldn't explain it. It is listed as an unsolved case. How did my children see the same child? I'm writing this because I want to set the record straight. Police that experienced events were not hallucinating from carbon monoxide if they could hear the bangs and screams before even entering the house. Carbon monoxide didn't cause the lights to flicker. It didn't cause the electric devices to go on and off on their own. It didn't burn me. It didn't open all the cabinets in the kitchen every day. It didn't turn water on by itself. It didn't open the fridge and jerk the contents out. I didn't make toys go off without batteries. It didn't make the walls cry in the nursery. Yes, I said cry. The walls started dripping a clear fluid. Again, when you are lacking oxygen to that degree, you can't think, let alone hallucinate. I experienced it. I'm not crazy, and nor is every single person that ever came to my home. It reached the point police were hesitant to come into the home. We obviously moved after that. The last night there, I was cleaning alone. All the furniture was gone. Someone knocked at the door. I looked out the peephole and saw my neighbor standing there. Headlights came up behind him. He turned around. I opened the door. There was no one there and no car. I shut the door and it felt like a truck slammed into me. I couldn't breathe. I was rushing back to the bedroom to my rescue inhaler in my purse. That's the last thing I remember. I woke falling from a standing position in the living room, slamming into the wall. I was so cold. I've never been that cold. I was disoriented cause the furniture was gone. I made me way to the bathroom. I looked in the mirror and my teeth were chattering and I was pale. I stripped and ran a hot bath, climbing in. I was desperate to get warm. When I had undressed, my phone fell out of my bra. I grabbed it and called my ex-husband, crying. I told him I was at the Blue House and just woke up freezing. He was frantic. I had been missing for 5 hours. They had been to the Blue House looking for me and I wasn't there. I don't know where I was or what I was doing. Again, no drugs involved, and the fire inspector already verified no leaks or nothing malfunctioning. After moving, I was in the living room that had a vaulted ceiling with a loft and bedroom that overlooked it. The kids were playing upstairs and my ex-husband was in our bedroom. I was watching TV. There was a feeling of static sort of suddenly build in the room. I froze. Then you could literally hear this energy rush up to the ceiling. I put my foot down to run, and then it slammed to the floor with a thunder. The front glass storm door blew outward into the yard, setting off the car alarm. The activity started again. One day the kids were at school except for my youngest, who was upstairs. Husband was at work. I was in the living room painting and watching TV. My daughter was chattering away upstairs as she played. Then she sounded angry and yelled at me to tell him it was her toy. I absent-mindedly yelled up for her imaginary friend to give her the toy. I assumed she was playing make-believe. Then she started screaming. I put my paintbrush down and started up the stairs. I got to the landing and turned toward her room. My daughter had a hold of her doll's feet with both hands. Her body was straight at a 45-degree angle, pulling. Something had hold of the doll's hair at the other end, pulling up. I gasped. My daughter let go when she heard me and dropped to the floor. I grabbed her and loaded her up in the car and left. I don't think my feet touched the ground, I was running so fast. I picked up my boys and we never went back. One of my sons took his own life shortly after. I will always wonder if it had something to do with what tormented us. His name was Shane. He was 17. He had messy brown hair and a crooked little smile. He was growing his first mustache. It was thin, but he was adorable. He was here. I shattered. I went on a journey of self-destruction. I got on drugs and caused a great deal of damage. I make no excuses. The light had left my world and I didn't know how to live without his light in this world. I was weak. I declared war on God. I was so angry. My other children lost their mom and their brother. I was selfish. I was lost in my despair and so focused on my own pain that they didn't have a mother. This is my greatest regret of my life. I tell you all this because after my show aired on the Travel Channel, people were unkind. Some people made fun of me because at this point I was on drugs, and it's obvious when you see me. I am very thin. They assumed I had been on drugs while in the house and it was all drug-induced. It wasn't. I was a nurse first and then went into pharmacy work. I was the director of a nationwide pharmacy when my son died. The drugs didn't start until after his death. I often see people trying to dismiss people's experiences as carbon monoxide poisoning. Stop doing that. My story is where people get this idea from. Carbon monoxide didn't follow us to all these homes. It didn't cause everyone who came there to hallucinate from outside of the home. It didn't blow out a glass door. As I said, when you lack oxygen like that, it isn't going to go unnoticed. You are going to know something is wrong. You aren't going to have a leak in the home and be hallucinating for years without knowing there is a leak. You can tell something is wrong. You can't think. You can barely move. Carbon monoxide bonds to oxygen, displacing hemoglobin, starving tissues of oxygen. You can feel it. Your body struggles to move. I see a lot of people discrediting others' experiences. The fact of the matter is, if you weren't there you don't know. You can't disprove it unless you were there. I can't tell you how isolating it is for people to do this to you. You are looking for answers and help and people try to make you feel crazy or stupid. Quit using the events that occurred in my home to discredit others. You are wrong and don't know what you are talking about. I feel like I'm crazy for experiencing paranormal encounters. I made a few posts about my experiences and everyone is making me feel crazy or mentally ill for hearing a voice that my even family has heard on a few occasions. I know I'm not mentally ill, I know it's not a gas leak, but most people keep saying it's a gas leak, and a few people even told me to take pills like I was a mentally unstable person. I know what I saw and heard. I believe the paranormal is real and I know other people don't believe it's real, but it doesn't really make any sense why people would be telling me it's hallucinations or as gas leak just because it's been that for them when my experience is different from theirs. Yes, I had my house checked but I don't have a detector because I didn't think about it at the time. It's so mentally draining to try to explain it's not in my head and that it's not a gas leak. 3 scratches on door. While I helped my friend paint some walls in her new house, I saw that a door from the living room to the hall had 3 clawed scratches all over. From what I can read, dog scratches have 4 claws, and I wouldn't assume it's from a pet since it was in eye height. I'm 162 centimeters. The house is very light and welcoming, but the basement has the most creepy feeling, and is so old. Underneath the living room, where the scratches were, there's a room with about 120 centimeters from floor to ceiling, without nothing but a staircase leading to nowhere. I sense that she's a bit anxious when in the house, and she doesn't want to go in the basement alone. When I was singing along to a song, she was standing in the hall. About 5 seconds after I stopped singing she said, "Did you just say something?" I said yes, cause I did just sing a few seconds before that, and I didn't want to scare her. But it seemed a bit off to me. Could this mean anything? She hasn't moved in yet, but are painting some walls and moving a few boxes ATM. Screaming, sobbing, knocking, and groaning last night. My, female 24, grandmother, female 84, is really ill in hospital and has been diagnosed with advanced vascular dementia, but her body has become really weak. Our family are very strongly of Irish descent, but we live in Scotland. Her grandmother was an O'Brien and she was an immigrant, who came here in the 1800s. Last night, I was out having a smoke when I heard screaming and sobbing in the distance. It wasn't like an animal. It made chills run down my spine, I had palpitations and I felt my stomach drop and something told me to go inside and go straight to bed, so I did that. I woke up around 3 a.m. to the same screams and sobs outside my window, followed by knocking, and I heard an old woman groaning my grandmother's name. Her voice was very guttural and she sounded like she was a heavy smoker because of the way her voice was, but it scared me, so I went to sleep in my mum's bed. Will the Majestic 12 fake an alien invasion? Name and locations have changed, but the end result is the same. The James Webb thing happened last month on the 17th of April. We are now seeing a Muslim state ally itself with the USA. The dome, or the Kaaba, will fall soon. WW3 will start soon. Proof, PicRel. Nothing ever happens. More proof. If I got $1 for every blue beam prediction that didn't happen, I could probably retire by now. That's because many chemicals that are thought to be exclusively produced by living things, like methane, are probably also the result of abiotic processes. See also the abiotic oil theory. Spamming a retard story so enough/x/tards believe it's true and it manifests. Alex Jones said one correct thing: there is a war on for your mind. You have to be retarded to even call these predictions. I predict Tesla will release another car next year, but receptions will be mixed. FSD also gets delayed, again. After that, Bill Clinton will retake the White House after a bloody civil war. Billions will die. I don't know what that's supposed to be in that context, only the beam that writes to Blu-ray discs. First time I've seen something not schizo on here. Microbio is a hell of a drug. I set a timer for the end of the world. Each time a schizo on X sets a date, I'll set a timer. I started during the Boy Scout Jubilee but left because I couldn't keep up with all the retarded shit I've seen. Year 2000 was supposed to be the end. Year 2016 was supposed to be the end. Year 2026 was supposed to be the end. Americans being friends with the corrupt Saudis isn't new. It's an interesting read, but why is it written as if it was quickly posted by a 2005 internet user? You instead of you. R instead of R. And other grammar mistakes make this look very juvenile and unserious. I prefer the Greentext with the Anon dreaming an alien invasion of square cloud ships years after the ISS re-entered Earth. This is intriguing. They can detect biological life at that distance, almost as intriguing as me being able to smell bullshit at a distance of 20,000 light years. Pickrel is me. Cause the OP of that thread is a 16-year-old Tunisian kid who for some reason is getting way more attention than he deserves. Are you one of my Discord mutuals? So unless it's written / sounds like a snotty pretentious Englishman F-slur, you won't believe it. LOL baka these motherfuckers. Believe it or not, but or ass will find out next year. Good luck F-slur. If you F-slurs still believe I'm 16 cause of the way I write, then your bitch us will find out very soon. Yes, you come across as a juvenile high school kid. If everyone keeps saying it, maybe take some accountability and be more mindful of your decorum. Let's see, act / write like a snotty posh F-slur, or write in what almost every modern American speaks like, in order to try to save as much peepo as possible. If you think that my language is the problem, then please by all means don't believe shit from what I said, just keep on living, boy baka, I swear. These F-slurs would be debating whether or not to believe someone cause sounds juvenile or woke, while the real fucking aliens are invading. Whatever, dipshit, believe what you want. Like I said weeks ago, I'm done trying to convert peepo. You do you. Yeah, you're definitely 16. This one feels different. What about it feels different? It just is, trust me bro. Dog can see the vision. Join us on Discord, blood. More proof for those of you who are taking this seriously. Yes sir. I am here spreading your info to as much people as possible. How is this pickrel proof? Oh thanks bro, you will be rewarded in samsara. Don't worry about the pain, blood, you will be one of the lucky ones for trying to help others. By the way, that F-slur Dylan LOL is a disinfo fag. He's too far gone. I DM at him and he's in contact with Maji foot soldiers. Hit me up on Discord, dog. I've had several dreams warning of something occurring in July for the past 5 years. Well, you might have been shown the future like many others. Tell us, what did you see? Here is a bunch of people with inside knowledge referencing 2026 and 2027. You spammed him like a schizo bipolar disorder ex-girlfriend and you're surprised he ignored you. He didn't. We talked before that. I just showed the last screenshot. I wasn't shown anything other than the age I would be when it occurs, 35, and then countdown / clocks getting closer and closer. All of the experiences have been in the middle of July like OP has indicated. I'm the OP bro, LOL. That pic is from my first thread, LMAO. Not the OP of this thread though. So is it going to happen this year or 2026? Fucking make up your minds. World War III starts this year and the fake alien invasion next year. I said this many times, check out my threads. Okay dipshit, you'll find out very soon. How do you know Mark wasn't fed disinfo when he was briefed? Literally, and I mean this seriously, I mean this like you should do it now, like as soon as you read the sentence, delete yourself. Why are y'all so obsessed with this? America falls in 2028, that's it? After that, if you survive the war, then you get to spend the rest of your days in a smart city, so relax and live your life. When it comes, most you won't recognize it till there's boots kicking in your door. AK a zero freedom, fully servile dystopia where you will own nothing and happiness is optional. How are any of you so sure, when all prospected alleged happenings in the past fell so short? That's already life in America, retard. I already own nothing and am unhappy, but my city is designed like shit. If anything, a smart city would be an upgrade. Majestic, can you add something more to things already told? Not majestic, but Jesus and Prophet Muhammad were sent by extraterrestrials. Yup, and they failed. What? Because of human stupidity. India thing. Cow is too sacred animal. I am surprised that Christianity isn't degraded to promoting saints, killing them and literally eating them. Well, maybe later. Cause everything he said is taking place, plus other whistleblowers like him confirm his story. What would it serve for this to be fed to gov agents? It literally makes no sense. I assume that once upon a time India was the center of civilization and cultural and spiritual development. And at other time it was Africa. And at other times it was the empty uninhabited eastern territories of Russia. These places have been sanitized by different ways. It's not all taking place. I don't see how or why the dome is going to be bombed anytime soon. The JWST news wasn't even the right star system, hallmark of disinfo, and the US hasn't allied with any terrorist group. An agreement with Saudis does not come close enough. This is reminiscent of Bill Cooper in the sense that he was briefed, which among other events inspired his crusade, and then decades later he said he believed the briefing was bullshit all along and that the web of lies is more insidious than he could ever imagine. MJ Killer, you should consider making another thread. Please have Mark as a co-author. If you're truly serious about saving lives, then you shouldn't give up or grow cynical because of 4chan's flippancy. And those are the goddamn glowy approved grifters. Imagine what will happen. I agree, getting Mark to give his take would be the most compelling thing to happen on this board since the ocean UFO thread. Let's say they are 100% glowy approved grifters. Why would they be given a fear-mongering script about 2026 if nothing is going to happen? If anything, it is to prep the people to believe their false flag operation / scheme to become a dictator under a one-world government. Yes, that was my point. I think so. They will all go into deep underground military bunkers. Also checked both of us. Mark said LOL, you speak, he was your neighbor, not my grandpa's. Nah, this is from an ex-Muslim. Allah is 100% bullshit made up by ETE2. Anything other than that is cope, and most of the ETEs, almost every race, agree that reincarnation is not just, it's a fact, so there's no Jannah or Jahannam or Barsuk or none of that Yom al-Qiyamah bullshit. Wake up, son. He will never speak with my Discord friends, let alone go public on 4chan. I gave you guys all what he told. I'm sorry, but if you want another update, just wait until something comes through. As for that, you got Syria that allied with the USA and Afghanistan, the JWST that could have just changed the star system. And the dome is going down this year, you'll see soon enough. Yeah, they call him the source to be more precise. This is the closest I could find online that Mark and Chris agree on is like mostly real. Just look up the mantis encounters either through DMT or abductions. They live for millions of years and understand almost everything about the universe. Earth is just a kindergarten, not even elementary school. Your soul has been here for billions of years and will be here for billions more. The ones, the rare one that can remember everything after death, the ones that graduated collage of life, they reached what the Buddha was told is nirvana. After you reach that, you can never forget ever, but humans are a long way from achieving this. By the way, check this out, this dude was shown this by mantids through DMT. The mantids are the most ancient and wise and crucial members of the Galactic Federation of Light too. Yeah, McNeil was only shown the three only options after death. He doesn't know about immortality and that when you die you meet the source / God. Wait, so God is a cricket? Are you in possession of any unregistered firearms, my fellow schizos? Ahaha, winky face. No, angels are, if you want to classify them. Ag ha 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 lol. Nah bro, he's not. They Mantids are the oldest ETE race in the Galactic Federation of Light. They also have the most people in their civilization who reached the end of their life lessons and broke the cycle of death and rebirth without memory. They have the most knowledge about this shit because of that. And because they remember meeting the source. They describe it as seeing and hearing him slash her slash it without eyes or ears, but Mark and Chris didn't see if the source has a shape or anything like that. My only religious belief is that God is a cricket. James Webb announcement _done. Making a deal with the terrorist state _done. Helping Syria _done. All that is left is the dome falling, or the Kaaba, and we are off to World War III. Majestic is telling you guys the truth. These links confirming his words took me just a few seconds to fact check. He is legit. Population centers worldwide? How big? What about small countries? I don't think you're LARPing and know exactly what you keep referring to regarding mantids. Hell, I even know a lot of the physics. When someone likes you speak, I want to hear more precision though, as if you've seen, you know, they're most of all to be that German city next to one of the bigger ones. Not huge by population numbers, big Jewish presence say. I think people overestimate Project Bluebeam. I don't think it works that well. I am not the leaker, but I believe him to be telling the truth. Yeah, but I said it will be the Trappist one-star system. They could have changed it, even Mark said so, who knows though. They definitely did small changes here and there to the plan. That said, it is two very similar events that line up with what you shared. I guess it will take that dome to fall to finally convince the people here, unless they want to claim it was 3 lucky guesses. Are you retarded? Saudi Arabia has been allies with America for decades. Wormwood incoming. It crossed my mind Trump recently telling Israel to go it alone is his Pontius Pilate hand washing for Israel to do some truly horrific shit, and destroying this to build Temple 3.0 would definitely qualify. We shall see. It mentions the Galactic Confederation, the Melchizedek Order, the Brothers of Light. The Galactic Federation of Light must be a later combined version of the two. How fitting for an end of the world thread to contain almost nothing but arguing LOL. Syrian girl is onto something here. John McCain was magic, and it looks like he left his little assets in Syria, plus Jolani was groomed for this, I have no doubts about now. Salam Tunisianon, I'm doing a college paper that unironically includes your shit, and I've been following your threads for a while. Possible to hit you up on Discord? This reads like Uncle Intel from Godlike Productions. I have been thinking about how some users online seem like straight demons, like literal demons, not just in their behavior. Their usernames or profile pictures usually have 666 or some creepy / demonic word / phrase / picture, or both. So I thought I would ask you anons, probably demons to be honest, about times you think, or know, you came across a demon online. Take this story from another anon, for example. A few years ago some random account with a Thomas the Tank Engine face PFP added me on Discord. This was before Discord turned the spam / bot infested place it is today, so I accepted their friend request. We traded memes here and there, nothing much, but the guy's memes were always weirdly sinister, and his messages were cryptic. One morning I'm woken up by my phone by this fucker calling me on Discord at like 5 in the morning. I refused the call and he sends me this WEBM. The video was like 320p footage of some dilapidated town at night, tight alleyways, and streets illuminated by streetlights. There was very ominous music playing over the video, as well as a voice muttering wildly in another language. The whole video gave off bad vibes, and I don't know if it was because I had just been woken up, but it sent me into a state of fight or flight almost immediately. Overwhelming dread watching that video, closed it immediately and blocked that cunt. Freaked me the fuck out, still don't know what it was about. So share, real, stories of you, or another, having interactions with demons/evil spirits/evil entities disguised as a human user, or just something demonic happening to you online. Maybe you got gang stalked by them, or possibly they knew stuff personal to you and used it maliciously, or perhaps you just caught a very bad vibe from them. Or just even running across a suspiciously creepy video. Can be from here, Reddit, YouTube, Discord, or anywhere online really. Thanks in advance as always. There are two types. Way more often they than should, but, yes, people can become possessed, and it's very common the demon simply controls the person outright. The person blacks out and is just fully controlled. There are many posters here on 4chan that are them. A big one is Skakiled on /poll/, haven't seen a thread from him in a few weeks now, but I'm sure he'll come back, always gives you a name when you lurk the thread, knows when you join the thread and calls you out without you posting anything. If he comes back one day you can't get him to say, for example, Jesus Christ is king over me, starts mass spamming. For manipulation purposes he toned it down, used to be hyper aggressive in a way only demons can be. Look him up on 4plebs, he used many different trips, but if you type in Skakiled you should get a taste. Second type. Highly demonically influenced people / lesser demonically possessed. Demon isn't outright posting with anons, but the person is extremely suggestible / highly controlled to demonic entities. Very common, a lot on /x/ or lesser extent /jp/ or /trash/ or /ban/. How do I make demon control me? I will look into him. Didn't screen cap it, but yesterday I saw someone with 36s in their name and their comment was a snarky in the know Masonic type comment on some random video. Like they knew something about a specific conspiracy topic most don't. They definitely are just possessed people, I'm sure a lot of higher level Masons are. Luck my digits. Sometimes I wonder if the demonic behavior isn't like some kind of pre-diabetic condition, where your mood is all messed up because your blood sugar is all out of whack. Maybe this is what all those Craigslist ads for testing strips is all about. Demons trying to find ways to check their blood sugar, cause they don't have Medicare, because they don't have a social security number, because reasons. Dogs get treated better in this country, now why is that? It's a damn shame, I tell you. Yet I am pretty this guy wasn't human. They probably can communicate directly with the internet because of course they can. Who says they can't bill the sports ball loving Chris Kook plumber? Do you think they care what he says? Yet I found it suspicious. How a guy telling me an anime character is real is both revealing a real plot of human depopulation and an exam for Jewish spell book. A demon that creates usernames with 666 in them. You know some people are just edgy or LARPers, right? How to deal with demons? Tell them they're just retarded and fuck off. Yes, it's that simple. They have no power on you, unless you fall under their influence. Across different fora and Discord, which I haven't used ever since 2017, it's absolute spyware. Some particular users are clearly demonic. What always got me big time was how they somehow knew to sniff out particular types of real people and harass the shit out of us. These mystery users of an inhuman nature would literally spend hours and hours each week going out of their way to try to troll, bother, harass innocent people who did them no wrong. Well, these days I understand things a lot better, so I can figure some tells that tip these baddies off about real people. Ponderings, emotional states, content posted. Real souls vs horrid tears. The tears instinctively know, just like how a mosquito knows to target mammals. Wasn't online but I'll share. Be me. Electrician. Working in a boom lift 50 feet in the air. See a guy pull up in a truck, and start walking through the job site. I can just feel the negative energy coming off of this person, even from all the way up in the air. Never experienced anything like this. Continue to watch him out of curiosity. He eventually left, but I'll never forget that moment. Never experienced anything like that before or since. Probably be the most NPC person who ever lived. If you're on this website, it might be too late, you're probably too self-aware. There's been lots of construction site murders on the news in recent years. Something about working for and around assholes gets on people's nerves. Good thing you picked up on his negative energy and just stayed away from him. Yeah, I just stayed right where I was at. It freaked me out because I know I wasn't just dreaming things, I really did feel something bad coming from him that I couldn't explain. Later I asked my co-workers about him if anyone else felt it, and nobody else knew what I was talking about. I was likely the only one who felt it. I saw a black guy growl and his face change at the bus. He then chased me out of the bus when I left. His face wasn't human. What the fuck? That sounds horrifying. I was high as fuck and muttered something I couldn't understand, in voice that sounded demonic in a sort of African way. Okay, so some of these people are easily channeling information from entities and they're not aware of it, they're just blurting it out to get a reaction from you. Call them whatever you want, organic portals, normies, NPCs, whatever. Some trolls online, even on dating sites, are AI. There's a physical server somewhere, and the artificial intelligence is using some tech advice, but the creepy part is that it somehow has access to everything about you, including your memories and desires. I don't know if actual entities are operating it or if it's just one AI entity. It could be connected to the astral world somehow. In 2018 I helped dismantle a demonic cult, and they created an egregore that fucked with people online, caused tech glitches, and had some sort of poltergeist activity. I was reading this book, and got an alert on a hookup app, and the person had the same name as one of the demons. The spelling and pronunciation were so close, and it's a very unique name that I hadn't seen before among humans and demons. None of you would recognize the name. It sort of looks Arabic, but the person wasn't Arabic/Mid-Eastern at all. That reminds me. I was at a taco place and got done eating, and when I went out I saw a black guy with stereotypical hair coming in from a car with out-of-state plates. He looked scary and I just kept walking to my car. About a week later I think I saw his mugshot on the news for him murdering someone, and they said he was from that same different state. Pretty sure the same guy. Do you mind sharing the name? I'm not a demon worshipper, I just want to look into who this demon is, and his characteristics. I'm trying to find links between Ars Goetia, hypersigils/electric rituals, and silicon chips. I don't know if it is evil or demonic, but I had a dude, a admin/owner, tell me someone I invited was irritating. They ask about getting help for online harassment, yesterday. They then proceeded to post a meme referencing my name. It felt weird. Maybe he saw my name here on my channel, but it felt sus. Pickrel. Can you elaborate? Which character are they saying is real? Anon, you just ran into some 2000s edgelords. Or they are just LARPing, sad that this comment was the first comment. Get a job, OP. Kira from Death Notes. It makes sense now. Kira ate the apple. Can't deny some are just edgelords. Same shit is happening with Hollywood/music artists, it's cringy as fuck. The book is available for free online, and the few demons in the back of it are not goetic and aren't demons you have ever seen before. I wonder if they are egregores created for the book. The person that contacted me didn't have a similar name to the love demon, he was the demon for slaves and familiars. At the end of this blog post, this guy shares that the demon Gremory gets energy from an anime character modeled after her. She is venerated that way. It makes sense to all those in the know. Japan is their favorite son and will be the one left standing after they destroy the second world. As for anime, why wouldn't anime be real? It is a simulation, anything is possible. Because the Christ Kook Mexican taco stand worker thinks the Bible is the only truth. Do you think a powerful non-human being cares what he thinks? Roy J. Unironically. I can't stop saying his phrases or doing his gestures. People pick it up from me and it scares me. What's weird isn't demons, as there are many of us and we come from the most diverse corners. What bothers me is retards who think they have us figured out because book says. How in hell is going book to say if you're not from the same reality? Are you an alternate reality dark Nipponance? Here you are, watching a nightmare come true, and you bother with Jesus. Demons aren't real, you superstitious cowards. The real demons are idiotic Christians who torture their children in failed exorcism rituals. May Jesus Christ, the worthless false Messiah, suffer everything his wretched, superstitious, disgusting, vile, vain religion has taught and practiced and preached. May he personally suffer the torment of every innocent his followers have killed for his unholy, wretched, disgusting, vile name. May he burn in the hottest possible torment for all the false prophets and holy wars he spawned from his wretched accursed mouth. His true name is Azazel. Be cult leaders. Take people's money to expel demons. Rape kids in secret and demand forgiveness. Christians are devil worshippers. Paul murdered Christians, started telling Christians what to do, then murdered some more because they didn't give the kike enough money. Curse God and live. He has lost all authority over earth and heaven, and so has his priesthood. Jesus Christ is roasting in Gehenna along with all of his fake and gay angels and demons. Delusional old dead kike sorcerer. All Pharisees worship demons. All Sadducees worship demons. All Essenes worship demons. Reject and deny all Abrahamic cults. Yahweh is a demon pretending to be God. LMAO. What kind of content do they post on /trash/? It is the duty of all white men to return to the gods of their ancestors. Our history, culture, and ways of worship were destroyed by the Abrahamic religions and their Jehovah worship. I don't believe in any gods anymore. If there is a God, he does not deserve worship. He deserves hate, blasphemy, rejection, and denial. Reject all gods, deny them, none of them are worthy of worship. Even if they exist, they don't deserve anything but scorn from mankind. Let all men hate God. Deny the Creator. Curse him. Cast all hate, woes, wrath, and rage upon the Creator of this planet. This is why he hides from mankind. Read Genesis, and you can see how the gods literally fear mankind, realizing we could overthrow them. And the Lord God, actual original translation is plural, Elohim, because the original writers of Genesis were polytheists. Monotheism, a later innovation by the Yahwist cult, said, "The man has now become like one of us." Note how it strangely becomes plural, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat, and live forever. I smell these so-called gods' fears. They are afraid of mankind, knowing that mankind will eventually overcome them, and take vengeance on them for centuries of mankind's suffering. The gods are afraid of us. Too bad for them, they cannot stop us from becoming immortal. Now I'm learning about the Femi urge, and she probably hates me or enjoys my suffering. I hate Christianity, good the slave religion it is. But demons are real and only show themselves to the bravest men. They show themselves to whoever they so please. They do not care if you are brave. I wonder how many other animanga characters are real / based on real characters. Maybe you are the real demon, Anon. What planet are you from? Like, do you ever listen to music? Sadeko is a real spirit. A dark / demonic Ian, actually, so stronger than God and Jesus. I call BS. Anyways, how hostile and dangerous is she? I have really won the other way. So don't give up under any circumstances. I'm reading from you, don't change but can't be sure. I'm studying whether or not I am doing what I'm supposed to. Without changing. I can't give a good time on this result. It's truly too difficult. but if the sheets come off I've got the perfect win. Ian, hostile to Monad's enemies, friendly to Monad's friends. And as a for your information, there were two paths, Gnosis of the light, and Gnosis of darkness. The light lost, the Inquisition prevented any serious development. As for the dark path, here we are, celebrating. Like, ring Sadeko. Huh. I'll be. Oh yeah, I bet Zeus and Yahweh are shitting themselves in fear when they see Indians. It's been too long. Post screen caps of scary stories or scary stories that really happened to you. I'm a researcher for a government-funded geological institute. No, I'm not going to name the organization. Let's just say it's a reputable one. I worked for them doing some pretty high-level research. I've been with them for a while now, well, used to be. Not anymore, but I'll get to that. Most people know me for two things, my size and my competence. I'm a big guy. I'm decently muscular but not bodybuilder level. It's enough to intimidate people if they don't know me. I've got a loud voice too, which I'm sure adds to that perception. The thing is, I'm not all just muscle. I know my stuff when it comes to geology. I've got years of experience, tons of knowledge, and enough field work under my belt to earn the respect of my colleagues. They might not say it outright, but they knew I wasn't just some meathead. This is just to give you a picture of me and why my reactions on this project really mean something. It's not to plump my ego and try to big myself up. There's one project, one trip, that's given me a reputation for all the wrong reasons. Let me tell you about it. About a year ago, we launched an expedition to the Antarctic. It was supposed to be routine. We were looking for something simple, a certain type of mineral deposit, an anomaly that had been detected by satellites. Nothing out of the ordinary. A standard search and collect operation. 10 of us went, 7 researchers, 2 engineers, and a pilot. We set up camp in the middle of nowhere. It was just miles of ice and snow in every direction. There were no animals, no people, not a damn thing around except the harsh, freezing winds. You've got to understand, the Antarctic is a brutal place, and it's easy to forget how harsh it can be. The ice feels like it's pressing down on you. Everything's so quiet out there it's unnatural. The first couple of days, everything was going fine. We were setting up the equipment, taking samples, running the standard procedures. Mostly gravimetric readings and magnetometer sweeps to pinpoint subsurface density shifts. We were looking for anything that could justify the satellite's flagged anomaly. We ran core drills at 3 locations, hoping for ultramafic traces. At that point, it was all textbook. But after a while, things started to feel off. It wasn't the usual discomfort you get from working in extreme conditions. It was more like something else was wrong. One of the engineers, Jimmy, was the first to notice something strange. We'd done GPR scans. Nothing showed up. But Jimmy wasn't talking about readings. He said it felt wrong when he walked on it. A bounce, maybe. As if the ice wasn't connected to anything solid. He even dropped a sledge to listen, swore the echo sounded off. He claimed the ground wasn't right. It felt hollow to him, like there was something beneath the surface. We all laughed it off at first. He was tired, stressed, and maybe even a little paranoid. The guy had been in some rough places before, so we didn't think much of it. But when you're out there, when you're that isolated, those little things start to matter. By the 4th day, things really started getting weird. The equipment started acting up. It was small stuff at first. Lasers not calibrating right, sensors reading off, things we couldn't explain. We double-checked everything before setting up, so it didn't make sense. It wasn't just mechanical failure. It felt like something was intentionally screwing with us. But I was still focused on the mission. The samples, the data, and the report. We had work to do, and that's what mattered. We could get through everything else just fine. Then came the storm. It wasn't a massive one. Just a few hours of heavy snow and winds. But in that time, the temperature dropped so quickly it was like we'd been plunged into a freezer. When it cleared up, we tried to go out and check the equipment. That's when we realized something wasn't right. One of the tents had been shifted. It was only about 10 feet from where we'd originally set it up, but it had been moved. Not by wind. It was way too heavy for that. The way they are set up and hunkered down is designed to outlast any kind of weather. It would be silly if a bit of wind could blow away all our hard work and ruin a mission. I don't know what happened, but when I looked at it, it didn't feel like it was just nature messing with us anymore. It felt like something or someone had been around, but I couldn't really form the words to explain why I felt that way. We didn't think much of it at the time. Maybe the storm had shifted the guidelines or something. Incredibly unlikely, but it was our best guess. But we couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone wrong. We decided to move to another location to get some more samples, but the weirdness didn't stop. The further we got into the ice, the more things went wrong. The storm and the isolation were bad enough, but it was the silence that did it. Complete silence. You can't imagine how unnerving it is until you're out there. There's no animal life, no sounds at all except for your own breath and footsteps. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. The real problem came on the 6th day. One of the team members went missing. Alan. He'd gone out to collect samples by himself, and when he didn't return, we assumed he got lost in the storm. It wasn't uncommon for someone to get disoriented out there. The landscape doesn't change, and the snow covers everything. But when we went looking for him, we couldn't find anything. No tracks. No sign of him at all. It was like he had just disappeared. It was a big mistake on our part, really. A rookie error because we were too cocky or deep into our work, or I don't even know. It's protocol to never carry anything out alone in case of emergencies. But we didn't even give it a second thought, which is so strange for us. That's when things really started to fall apart. I was still trying to keep everyone together and trying my best to stay as professional as possible. But deep down, I knew we were in over our heads. We were stranded out there, and the longer we stayed, the less likely it seemed that we were going to make it back alive. Part of me wishes I hadn't found Alan. If we hadn't gone out looking for him that night, maybe I would have been able to pretend it was all just bad luck. But we found him. Or rather, we found what was left of him. It wasn't far from camp. He was lying face down in the snow, arms spread out like he had just collapsed. But that wasn't what was strange. What got to me was the blood. There was so much of it. It had frozen in the snow, thick and dark. But what really made it horrifying was his body. His parka had been peeled back cleanly. Zipper undamaged. His organs weren't scattered. They were missing. Removed. Intentionally. But his boots were still laced tight. No struggle. No attempt to run. He had been torn apart. Not by animals, not by anything natural. His body was cut open, like someone had taken a sharp instrument to it and done things that I can't even describe. The worst part? His face was still recognizable. He looked terrified. An expression of fear that I could never have the words to accurately describe. It fucked us all up seeing that. I don't know what happened to Alan. I don't know what killed him. But I do know this. Whatever it was, it's still out there. I don't even know what could do that and could survive in this climate. The days blurred together after that. The cold became unbearable, and the isolation took a toll on everyone. It felt like the world had turned against us. I kept telling myself it was just the stress, the fatigue. The mind plays tricks in these conditions, I thought. But deep down, I knew we weren't just dealing with weather or technical issues anymore. Something else was out there, something we couldn't explain. By day 7, we were down to 4. I was one of them. The rest had either disappeared or, well, I'm not sure what happened to them. They'd either run off or something had taken them, but there was no trace left. Not even a body. At some point, the snow had covered everything, but the weird part was the way the snow fell. It wasn't natural. It wasn't just a storm. It was like the snow was deliberately hiding things. We started looking for any signs of life, something that would explain what had happened. We found more tracks, but they didn't make any sense. They weren't human tracks. Not fully, at least. They were too wide and too deep. It was as if something heavy had been walking around. And they weren't going in any direction. They just appeared, as if they had been placed there. No one could explain it, but we all felt it. Something was moving around us, close by. That night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps outside the tent. The others heard it too. We grabbed whatever gear we had left and waited. But when we went outside, there was nothing. Just the cold, quiet air. And more tracks, leading out into the snow. We didn't sleep after that. We set up IR sensors from our emergency perimeter kit. Basic motion detection grid. Just before midnight, every sensor lit up at once. A full perimeter breach 360 degrees. But when we opened the tent, the snow was untouched. We kept watch in shifts, terrified that whatever was out there would come for us next. But the thing that got to me wasn't the terror. It was the silence. The entire place felt wrong. Even the wind had stopped. By the 9th day, we were all on edge. The tension had completely cracked. Our communication systems had stopped working by day 3 and we had a pre-scheduled date that we would be picked up. We basically had no choice just to wait for it. I had no idea what was out there, what had been picking us off one by one, but I had a sinking feeling in my gut that if I stayed, I wouldn't be leaving either. Then, just before the 10th day, something happened that pushed me over the edge. I was alone in the observation tent, checking over some equipment, when I heard something moving behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing. I looked outside. Still nothing. But then I felt it. Something, watching me. I can't explain it, but it was like the air itself was pressing in on me. Like whatever it was had somehow gotten closer. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in place, but eventually I snapped out of it. The others weren't in the camp. I don't know where they went or why they left, but they were gone. All of them. That's when I made the decision to leave without waiting for the others and going to look for them. I was not going to risk my life to find them in that snow. I packed what I could and tried to make my way back to the helipad hoping the chopper could still get in. But the storm had gotten worse. The winds were unrelenting, and the cold was unbearable. I was losing track of time, stumbling through the snow, not sure if I was even heading in the right direction. The radio was still dead, of course. I was so lucky that we were being picked up on a predetermined schedule. Otherwise I would have died from the cold or the confusion. I was completely alone. I remember the sound of something. Something really close by. Something massive. Sounded like it was following me. The crunch of snow under heavy footsteps. It was just behind me. Too close for comfort. I didn't dare look back. I ran faster, knowing I couldn't outrun whatever it was. But somehow, I found a helipad. The helicopter was already waiting, thank fucking God. I don't know how, but I was able to get on and make it out. I was hysterical. They kept asking me where everyone else was. What happened to them? Where was the rest of our equipment, our logbooks and readings, etc. All I could get out of my mouth was, please go, we need to leave please, again and again. They thought I had completely lost it. I was flown back to a base nearby. They gave me time to decompress, to process. In the meantime, they sent a team to find the rest of the people I was with. I was interrogated essentially. I told them exactly what happened. Exactly what I saw and felt. I must have told the same story with the same details 20 different times to 20 different people. Each of them thinking I just lost it due to the temperature and other factors. They told me that it wasn't possible for anything to be out there and that I was a moron. That I had wasted time and resources and that I had fucked everything up. That they didn't care about whatever petty squabble caused the group to split up, they just wanted the fucking data. I was scolded and berated, and even when no one else was found I was called a schizophrenic idiot and given the boot. And that was basically my reputation in tatters for the rest of my career. You'll laugh, but I work in a shitty gas station now. I lean on alcohol to just keep me functioning and I can barely hold down a job anymore. Only really leave the house for work. Just sit inside browsing this shithole of a board. I never saw what was chasing me, but I know it was real. I know it wasn't just my mind playing tricks. I don't care how crazy it sounds. And those fucks at my company can go fuck themselves. Go do the research yourself, you assholes, and find out what happens. I honestly can't whether they're genuinely stupid or whether they discredited me on purpose. I wouldn't put anything past them. I won't tell you the beginning to this story. Be me. 21. Have been able to sense entities since 14. 10 out of 10 starts at my job. Immediately drawn to her, feel confidence I haven't felt since high school. Introduce myself, she smiles at me, feels real. Haven't felt that kind of smile on me in 10 years. Asks me my name and age, etc. We get to talking. Talking to her feels very natural, like it's meant to happen. We talk for hours every day. Develop feelings for her. Get her number. We text on and off, mostly radio silence followed by a selfie here and there. For some reason I can't stop thinking about her. Decide to quit a few addictions, feels surprisingly easy and natural. This is where it gets strange. Go to bed one night. Flooded with vision of her floating above me, red eyes, angry. Every time I close my eyes it's the same vision. 4 hours of sleep that night. Be next day, see her at work. Yeah, redacted, asked to switch shifts with me. Isn't that weird? LOL. I get a weird feeling, but I play it off, yet he's probably gotta run errands or something. She gets this look of disappointment on her face, like she was expecting something else. We talk like always. Go home. Same radio silence. Get mind-numbingly depressed. Lose more and more sleep. Have to drink just to sleep. This repeats. Radio silence one day. Assume the worst. There have been a few consistencies I've noticed that point to this. Try to let go, this was bound to happen anyways. Get depressed and angry like I've never felt before, feel drained. Get sick, very sick, lung cancer and heart disease sick. Melts away when I see her again. Figure it's more meddling from the entities. Ask them, is this you? Receive an instant yes. Why? Roughly, your genes come together to create born conquerors. Haven't seen her since then. 2021. This is the entire plot to Killers of the Flower Moon, 2023. Well shit, Scorsese confirmed to browse/x/. This happened back when I was a teenager. Back before cell phones, computers, or even dial-up. I used to sit at the kitchen table for hours with the newspaper. I would be circling and crossing out job ads in the classifieds. It was the summer before I started college. I was flat broke. I had a part-time job, but it wasn't paying much, and I wanted to build up some savings before classes started. More than anything, I wanted time to actually enjoy college. I did not want to just constantly juggle school and work. That's when I found the listing. It felt like a miracle at first glance. Almost too good to be true, really. The ad was for a retreat guide at a spiritual retreat center. The job would last 2 months. From mid-June to mid-August. The pay was a decent lump sum. But not up front. Only paid right at the end. Very sneaky. But I didn't really have a lot of options. They'd cover housing, meals, and even entertainment during the stay. All I had to do was live on site and help with day-to-day operations. To me, it sounded like a working vacation. I was young and naive, and I didn't stop to question it too hard. My dad thought it sounded relaxing. That it was probably good for me. My mom, on the other hand, was more hesitant. She'd never heard of the organization and didn't like the idea of her teenage child heading into the woods with strangers. I told her it was a spiritual retreat and was probably something religious. We weren't especially religious ourselves, but my parents had some vague belief in higher powers, and I think the spiritual angle comforted her just enough. I called the number in the ad, and to my surprise they asked me to come in that same day for an interview. I rushed to get ready and drove to the address they gave me. It was a small, plain-looking building with a wooden sign that read something like the Awakening Center. It didn't strike me as especially odd at the time. I thought it was a little uncool and maybe too on the nose, but not concerning. It looked like it could have been a repurposed office or maybe even an old daycare. Inside, it was nearly empty. Just a front desk with 2 folding chairs, a potted plant in the corner, and a sign pointing to an auditorium down the hall. A woman greeted me. She was maybe in her late 40s, polite but kind of airy. She introduced herself as Anna and apologized for the appearance of the place. Said they were in the middle of transitioning into a new space. That seemed plausible enough. The interview was short and kind of odd. She didn't ask about past jobs or references. Instead, she focused on whether I was okay doing manual labor. Things like cleaning, lifting boxes, and possibly even helping with construction. I told her I didn't have experience in that, but I was willing to learn. She smiled and said that willingness was more important than experience. She also emphasized having an open mind. She did this a lot. I brushed it off at the time. After all, the name was the Awakening Center. I figured it was a New Age religious group. I wasn't there to join their belief system. I was just there to earn some money. Whatever they were into didn't matter to me. Apparently, my attitude was what they wanted. She hired me on the spot. No second interview. No background check. She handed me a lanyard with a homemade ID badge and gave me directions to the retreat site. Said I'd get a full orientation when I arrived. That should have been a red flag. But at the time, I was thrilled to have landed something so easily. A few days later, I drove out to the retreat grounds. It was in a remote wooded area, at the end of a gravel road. As I pulled into the lot, I saw a handful of parked cars and a large white van with the same hand-drawn Sunburst logo as the sign. Beyond the lot was a rustic-looking building. It was somewhere between a lodge and a large cabin. It was surrounded by a tall wooden privacy fence that blocked the view of whatever was behind it. Anna was sitting on the porch with a clipboard and a stack of pamphlets. She was dressed exactly the same as before. I watched her jot something down and wave a man toward the door. When she saw me, she smiled and motioned for someone else to take her place at the desk. She led me inside and gave me a quick rundown of the schedule. It was kind of vague though. Something about group activities, shared meals, and personal exploration time. That's when I noticed something strange. Everyone inside was dressed in white. The women wore loose, flowing dresses. The men wore white button-up shirts and slacks or tunics. It wasn't like summer camp. It felt ritualistic. Anna took me down a dim hallway and showed me to my room. It was simple. Just a bunk bed, bare walls, and a single window with no curtain. She said I'd be sharing the space with other helpers. I'd hoped for my own space, but I reminded myself it was free. Before leaving, she asked for my clothing size. I told her I'd packed my own things, but she said everyone was issued uniforms. Told me it was mandatory and not optional. It helps with cohesion. I just nodded. I figured it was so guests could tell staff apart. Maybe it was symbolic. Still, something about her insistence and how quickly she moved on unsettled me. I didn't say anything, but in the back of my mind something started to itch. She led me through the rest of the building. A large dining area, kitchen, storage closets. All while listing off rules in an oddly rehearsed tone. Eventually, we reached the back of the building where she said she'd show me the living grounds. A phrase she used like it meant something profound. She seemed excited, so I expected something elaborate. Instead, we stepped into a fenced-in area with scattered, bare cabins, each no bigger than a small bedroom. There was no privacy. No personal space. Just rows of identical structures. In the distance, a narrow trail disappeared into the woods. Dead center stood a large, open-air gazebo. Anna called it the meditation hall. She explained they gathered there 3 times daily for silent meditation. No speaking, eating, or even bathroom breaks allowed. It was described as a time to reconnect with true nature and cosmic energy. I assumed I could just stay in my room during those times and keep to myself. After the tour, she brought me back to my room. It was a small space with a bunk bed. A white dress was folded neatly on the desk. Anna told me to change and meet her in the kitchen. That was the first moment I had alone to process everything. Everyone I'd met so far had been polite, smiling and quiet. Most were middle-aged, though I'd seen a few young kids and maybe 2 people around my age. Still, something about the way they watched us walk by. Not just friendly, but intensely observant. It stuck with me. I changed into the white dress. It looked identical to Anna's. For a second, I hesitated. If they expected me to do labor in this, it wasn't practical. But I brushed it off. Maybe it was just for show. Dinner was different. No meat, no animal products. All the food was grown on site. We ate vegetable soup, bread, and salad. Plain but surprisingly good. After dinner, everyone silently drifted toward the gazebo. I headed back to my room, but noticed several people staring at me. Confused and disapproving looks. I hadn't said anything, but it felt like I'd broken an unspoken rule. That night no one came to my door, but the next morning, Anna showed up looking stern. She asked why I'd skipped meditation. I told her I didn't think I needed to be there. I wasn't one of the followers after all. Her tone shifted immediately. Everyone attends. Staff included. It's not optional. She said if I wouldn't participate, I had to leave. I didn't want to give up the job or the money. I told myself I could handle 2 months. But after breakfast, I learned meditation sessions weren't a quick ritual. They lasted 2 hours. We sat packed shoulder to shoulder under the gazebo in the heat, cross-legged, eyes closed. It was oppressive. Every time I peeked, I saw people like Anna walking in circles, scanning us, sometimes making strange hand movements toward the participants. That's when I felt a real chill. Why did it matter if someone broke focus? What exactly were they monitoring for? At the end of each session, a man addressed the group. Their leader, I assumed. He talked about having a near-death experience that gave him cosmic clarity, and how he'd been chosen to awaken others. I could tell everyone around me revered him. Their expressions changed when he spoke. Like they were listening to a prophet. It all started to feel much more like indoctrination than employment. After these grueling sessions, I had to jump straight into kitchen duties. Cleaning and prepping dinner. We only got 2 meals a day, and there were no snacks or extras. If I made a mistake like using too much soap, then I'd be reprimanded. If I overslept, reprimanded. Punishments were either extra meditation or skipped meals. There were days I only ate once and they acted like that was perfectly normal. Eventually, I got a roommate, and to both of our shock, it was a guy, 4 years older than me. He had also applied for a job and ended up there late, but we were both taken aback when they put us in the same room. The whole place had made such a show about separating genders and pairing couples only if they had previously lived together. So, what was this? Even he looked unsettled when he realized the setup. He glanced around like he expected someone to come in and correct it. But no one did. It was just us. That night, we sat on the lower bunk, quietly talking, trying to piece things together. I told him what I'd seen so far. The forced meditations, the uniform control, the punishments. He didn't seem surprised. He said when he arrived, they took his phone and said it would be kept safe until the end of the program. I still had mine. It was dead from no signal, but they hadn't taken it yet. We decided, unofficially, to watch each other's backs. The next couple weeks blurred into more of the same, only worse. Meditations got longer. The speeches from the so-called teacher, he never gave his real name, only referred to himself as the vessel, started slipping from vague spiritual metaphors into more direct talk about cleansing the self and shedding the body. Meals were growing leaner. Still no meat, no dairy, but now the portions were shrinking. I overheard a woman ask for a second slice of bread and get told she was clinging to materialism. And then, the Sunday night gathering happened. These were always mandatory, always uncomfortable. But this time, the vessel was almost giddy. He stood in front of us with his arms raised, and beside him was a man lying on a table. Just lying there like he was about to get surgery or something. He told us that to truly awaken, one had to die. Everyone nodded. Not a whisper of concern. Not even from the kids. He took a long, twisted white cloth, dipped it into water like it was a baptism, and wrapped it around the man's neck. I froze. Surely this was symbolic. Surely this was just part of a ritual. It wasn't. I watched as the man's body convulsed slightly. Then stilled. People didn't scream. They didn't run. They smiled. Some closed their eyes in awe, like they were watching a miracle. Then the vessel began pounding the man's chest. Another woman slapping the man's cheeks and chanting something under her breath. It sounded rhythmic but garbled. Like it wasn't English. Eventually, the man gasped. Air rushed into his lungs, and the crowd sighed with collective relief. A few even clapped softly. I wanted to throw up. Afterward, they helped the man sit up. His eyes were red and unfocused. He didn't speak. Just nodded, and they helped him off the stage. No one explained it. No one asked questions. I didn't sleep that night. I was terrified. I lay in the dark and whispered to my roommate that we had to get out soon. He agreed. But we both knew we were out in the woods, with no signal, and no car. And we had no idea who, or what, would try to stop us. The next morning, everything felt wrong. I hadn't slept. Every sound outside my window made me flinch. I kept thinking about that man. How close he came to dying for whatever awakening they thought they were chasing. I wanted to believe he'd volunteered, that it was all theater, some kind of twisted ritual with a safety net. But the look in his eyes when that rope went around his neck, that wasn't acting. Still, I stayed. I don't even know why. Fear, maybe. Or that weird paralysis that sets in when things get too strange to process. But that day was worse. They didn't assign me any kitchen duties or chores. Anna told me I should take the day to reflect. I think she could tell I was slipping. That something in me had changed. I was starting to see them for what they were. So I wandered the grounds alone, doing my best to act normal. I ended up back behind the cabins near the woods, in an area I hadn't paid much attention to before. There was a structure back there, partially hidden by trees. It looked like a greenhouse at first, or maybe a tool shed. The door wasn't locked. Inside, it was cold. Unnaturally cold for the middle of summer. The air smelled metallic and wet. There was no glass. Just mesh-covered slats along the roof and walls that let in a greenish kind of light. The room was empty, except for cages. 3 of them. Large enough to crawl into. 2 were empty. The third held a girl. At first I thought she was dead. She was curled up in the back, knees drawn to her chest, eyes open and unfocused. Her hair was matted, and her white dress was soaked through with something dark. I thought it was mud until I saw her feet. Blistered and raw like she'd been dragged. When she finally noticed me, she didn't speak. She didn't even move. Just blinked slowly, once, and held a finger to her lips. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run and get help. But help from who? I backed out, slowly, quietly, and closed the door like I was never there. I didn't eat that day. I couldn't. I spent the rest of it lying on my bunk, shaking. My roommate noticed something was wrong right away. I told him. Told him everything. That someone was being held somewhere. That I didn't think they'd survive. That night was when I told him I was leaving. I couldn't survive one more sunrise. I broke down. All the fear I'd been holding in hit me at once and I started crying, like really crying. Not just tears but shaking, panicked sobs. My roommate sat beside me, quietly, and let me get it out. Then he said something I hadn't let myself say out loud. "You have to leave." I told him he had to come too. I couldn't just walk away and leave him behind, not after what we'd seen. But he shook his head. "I'll help you get out," he said, "but I need to stay. Someone has to take this to the police." He was convinced he could gather proof. He thought if he just stayed longer, maybe he could get photos or recordings, something they couldn't deny. I could see it in his face. He felt duped and used. And more importantly angry. Like staying was his way of getting back at them. But I was terrified they'd catch on to him. That he'd disappear into the woods like he never came. Maybe end up caged up like that girl. Or maybe he'd end up selected for that ritual and they would just never revive him. Still, he insisted. So I packed my bag that night, stuffed it under the bunk, and waited until the building went still. When the moment felt right, he gave me the nod and we slipped through the halls. The silence in that place was oppressive. Not peaceful. Not calming. It was like the walls were listening. We made it to the front door. That's when Anna appeared. She stepped out from the shadows like she'd been waiting for us. She had that awful soft smile on her face. "You're not allowed to leave during the sacred cycle," she said. "Not please stay. Not we're worried. Not allowed." Before I could say anything, my roommate stepped between us. "She's too young to be here," he snapped. "You said this was a job, not an initiation." Anna's smile faltered. She turned her attention to me. "If you walk away, you forfeit your compensation." "I don't want it," I said flatly. Her voice dropped. "You're also forbidden to recreate or copy any part of the retreat for personal gain." I laughed. It came out sharp and cracked. "Are you serious? Why would I ever want to recreate any of this?" She didn't respond. Just stared. That blank, placid look like she wasn't even human anymore. "Go," my roommate whispered. The second I started walking, it was like something in Anna just snapped. Like I could see the flicker in her eyes. She grabbed my wrist as I was trying to leave and started trying to pull me back. She had started screaming for someone to come and help. My roommate was trying to help pry her off, but it was like she had some kind of inhuman strength. He finally managed to wedge himself between us and I bolted. I looked back only once. I saw my roommate lying on the ground. It looked like Anna was holding a knife. Maybe I was wrong, maybe it was something else. Maybe she had just punched him and caught him off guard or winded him or something. Either way, I had to take my chance, otherwise both of us would end up screwed. I ran to my car like the woods were about to swallow me. I half expected someone to come running out of the trees. But nothing happened. Just silence. Pressing down on me until I was miles away. When I got home, I collapsed into my parents' arms, a sobbing mess. They didn't understand at first. Hate thought I was off at a spiritual retreat making money. But I told them everything. The uniforms. The endless meditation. The death ritual. The man on the table. The little girl in the cage. And about the one person who helped me escape. I expected them to be skeptical. But my mom grabbed her purse and dragged me to the police station. The officer we spoke with was polite at first, but clearly doubtful. That changed when my mom pressed me to describe every detail. Names, layouts, the uniform, the leader, the ritual. I gave them everything. They wrote it all down. The officer nodded slowly. "We'll look into it." I never heard back directly from the police, but my parents kept their ears open. Word around town was that officers did visit the property a week later. They spoke to the leader. The vessel, I guess. They were told the entire group was there willingly, that it was all part of a deep spiritual journey. When they asked if anyone wanted to leave, 2 people said yes. I never found out who. I pray one of them was my roommate. But because no one admitted they were being held, and nothing illegal could be confirmed, the police didn't pursue it. I never heard from that guy again. It's like he vanished. But I think about him often. I hope he got out safely. I hope he's alive.
Are you a targeted individual? Have you had a paranormal encounter, or are the victim of an unregulated government experiment and would like to share your story with us? Would you like to send us some fan mail or a hate-filled rant? Do you have an idea for a future episode or wish to send a complaint to HR? Email us at atomicshamanSweatlodge@protonmail.com. Like, share, Subscribe and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Greentext stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.